What's going on, everybody? Nick from Viget. Happy to be back here, joined with Mitch from Viget. Mitch, how are we doing?
I'm good. How about yourself? I'm getting ready for the Super Wild Card weekend coming up.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited to get into it. So let's get right into it. First game's up. We're going to do all three Saturday games, and then we're going to come back and do all three Sunday games. So let's start right up. First game started on the slate, 1 p.m. game. Indianapolis Colts traveling up into Orchard Park to take on the Bills. Bills red hot coming in this one. They are going to have just under about 7,000 fans for their home field advantage. But as I said, Mitch, the Bills have been on fire in this one. Are you going to be backing them, or do you smell some sort of upset here with the Colts?
If there's a top seed in this playoff that I think is going to get upset, I think it's going to happen in this game. Indy, I mean, yes, the past two games that they've played, the second half, they kind of fell off a little bit. But this is going to be a very, very tough matchup. Yes, Bills, Josh Allen, like you mentioned, they've been really hot. But the Indy defense, they're legit. I like Darius Leonard. He's all around the field making plays all the time. DeForest Buckner. It's going to be tough for the Bills. What are you thinking about it?
I'm actually going to go against you here, and I'm going to take the Bills in this one. And a big reason for me is I think that the Bills have been kind of like against all the sharps. A lot of the games this year, people have thought go against the Bills. The sharps are on the right side of the pick. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we saw them against the Broncos where they were about -6 on the road. People thought, oh, it's a trap. Take the Broncos. Then that Monday night game against the Patriots, everyone's like, take the Patriots +7. The Bills are a trap. I'm throwing all that out the window. I'm taking the Bills here in this one. And I said they're on a really hot historic run here. When you look at it, since week 10 or their last 10 games, they're 9-1, beating teams on average 13.8 points per game. They're also 8-0 against the spread in the last 8 overall. And you brought up a good point about the Colts defense and how good they've been, but they haven't really impressed me. When we look at their schedule down the road, they've beaten up on some teams that they're supposed to beat on. Their last real impressive win was week 11 at the Packers. They're not that good against the pass, and I feel like that can lead to some easy down the field plays for Josh Allen and, his receivers and Stephon Diggs and such.
Yeah, I mean, last week weren't the Dolphins were favored last week, right?
Yeah, that was some crazy line movement in that one.
And
Yeah.
the Bills just came out and just trounced them. I mean, yeah, Stephon Diggs, leading receiver in the NFL. He's had an amazing year. He seems to really like it in Buffalo. Josh Allen throwing the ball wherever he wants. He's just slicing and dicing. Cole Beasley, he's been cooking up in the slot. But I have too much trust in this Colts defense. I'm not going to take them to win the game, but I'm going to take them that +6.5 spread. But yes, the Colts struggled against the Jags last week, but it shows you that Jonathan Taylor, he can be a game wrecker if he wants to at over 200 yards. But yeah, another thing that scares me a little bit is Rivers is only 5-6 in his postseason career. He struggled when he's gotten there. I don't see if they were to win this game, they would definitely lose next round. But I'm going to take the Colts +6.5. I know you're going to take the Bills -6.5, but I guess we're just going to have to see who wins in that one.
No, I think it's going to be a good game regardless. And you bring up a good point there with Jonathan Taylor, because that's what I wrote down. Under what I think the Colts are going to have to do to succeed in this game, it's going to have to be Jonathan Taylor. It's going to have to be running the ball. But when you look at the Bills' defense, their rush defense has been great, but they haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher since week 10. I believe it was Kenyon Drake. And the week before that, I think they gave up 100 combined to Cam Newton and Sony Michel. So, say what you want about their rush defense, but they've kind of buckled down, and it might say something about how poor some of the running backs they've played against since that time span. But I feel like they locked up, and if they can control Jonathan Taylor on this one, I think they should really have no issue in this game.
Yeah, the safeties, Micah Hyde, and then Jordan Poyer, and then their DBs, Tre'Davious White, who's locked down, and Josh Norman. He's kind of fallen off a little bit, but he's still legit. I do think the Bills will definitely win this game, but I think the Indy defense will keep it close.
When we look at some of our trends here, I'm going to bring them up because I love looking at the trends. Colts only 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 road playoff games. And the last 5 times these two teams have met, the favorite is 4-1 against the spread. The home team's also 5-0 against the spread. But as you said, Colts defense looks strong. Jonathan Taylor is going to have a huge workload in this one. I'm going to take the Bills, though, to cover. I think that they're just matchup proof at this point. Hottest team in the league. I'm going to go 33-24 Bills.
I'm going to go under. Under's at 51. I think – I have a lot of faith in this Indy defense. I think they'll keep that score under. I'm going to go 24-14.
24-14. I like that low scoring, and the Bills get it done there. Let's head on to our second game now. Rams versus Seahawks. Seahawks come in at -3.5, total set at 42.5. It kind of looks like we're starting to see some reverse line movement here as the Seahawks are getting a lot more of the public money, yet the Rams spread has come down a full point here. So now the Seahawks still a slight favorite here at home. These teams have met twice already, obviously being divisional opponents. Rams won the first one. Seahawks won the second one. Seahawks at home here, usually good in the playoffs. Who are you taking in this one?
I got to go back. I said 24-14 on the Bills. I meant to say 24-20. I
24. Okay.
messed that up a little bit. But yeah, the Rams, I mean, they struggled coming down the stretch. I mean, they had the Wolford guy coming in last week, have a big win for them. They needed it to get in. But I think Russ is going to cook in this game. He's going to show up, show out. But I think DK, he's going to get locked down by Jalen Ramsey. He's going to just be shut down. So it's going to have to be somebody else. Tyler Lockett, David Moore, they're going to have big games. And I think Russ will lead them. This will be easy for the Seahawks. I think Rams defense is pretty good, but their offense, if the Seattle can get to Jared Goff, if he plays, he's been battling with that thumb injury. If Seattle can get to Jared Goff, then it's over. He can't play under duress. I'm taking the Seahawks -3.5.
I'm actually going to go against you again here. And I know this isn't the most flashy pick at all, but I'm solely playing the number here. I really like getting, I wish I got it at 4.5 or 4, honestly, but I still like getting it at 3.5, getting it just over a field goal here. And you brought up a lot. You talked about obviously the Seahawks offense and DK and Russell Wilson, but what I love in the playoffs is a good defense. Rams defense is nothing short of that. Number 1 in scoring defense, number 1 against the pass, number 3 against the rush. And you bring up a good point there with whether it be Jared Goff or John Wolford, but they're kind of a similar quarterback here. Obviously, Goff is the better quarterback, but Wolford can use his legs to get out of the pocket. I think Sean McVay is going to devise a really strong game plan from him. I'm a really big sucker for a good coach and a really good defense, and that's why I think this game can stay kind of close.
The over-under is at 42.5. At first, I thought that seemed a bit low, but then you started talking about the number 1 scoring defense. I mean, Aaron Donald, he's a game wrecker, best defensive player in the league. Should probably win the Defensive Player of the Year award, but that may go to somebody else. But I just think the Rams, it really comes like the Seattle Seahawks, their defense is
They've stepped it up. You got to give credit to them.
Yes, they definitely were rough earlier in the year. They stepped it up coming down the stretch, but I don't see the Rams offense with all their motioning and misdirection and stuff. I don't see them having a very big game. They don't really have that star player that can take over a game if he needs to. So I'm still riding with the Seahawks with that -3.5. I don't know if I want to go over or under though. That 42.5. That one's tricky.
It's kind of a gross number, honestly. The last time these two teams met, I think it was set at around 47. The first time in this matchup, it was around, I think, as high as 54. But the books have obviously adjusted to that. I'm not comfortable, honestly, touching the total. I could see it going under. I could see it barely sneaking over. But in a playoff game where, as you said, Russell Wilson has been so strong for that offense, it's kind of tough to take. But when we talk about the Rams one more time, I just think that if they score a defensive touchdown in this game, I think that's going to be huge for them. I could see it happening. Obviously, the Seahawks don't turn the ball over a lot, but I think that if the Rams want to stay in this game and keep it close, I think that defense will have to probably not maybe put up some points on the board for them, but definitely try to get some takeaways.
They're going to have to step up. I mean, it'd be different if we were talking with fans being allowed in the stands with that 12th man in Seattle. I mean, one of the loudest stadiums in the country, but I can't go against the Seahawks. I'm going to go 27-17. I think they get it done pretty handedly.
27-17. You got the Seahawks by 10 and sneaking over the total there. Before I get my score prediction, also important to note, Cooper Kupp might come back. Big emphasis on might as he's still on the COVID list. But if he does, that's really positive, I think. And John Wolford, obviously being the quarterback he is in his second NFL start, he needs all the help he can get if he is going to get the start there. But Rams 5-2 against the spread in their last 7 as a road dog. Seahawks only 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 following a straight up win. So I'm going to say it stays really close. I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one, but by the field goal. So I'll take the hook here. I'll go Seahawks final score prediction 21-18.
I also saw that Michael Brockers and Andrew Whitworth might be coming back. Whitworth he's still on IR, a little bit questionable, but Brockers was on that COVID list with Cooper Kupp, so they might be able to come back.
Whitworth would be a crazy addition there for the. And I saw about Jamal Adams too. I saw that he had some sort of lingering injury, but it looks like he's going to play regardless. A lot of big injuries in this one, but I think it's going to be a close game nonetheless here. Let's move on to our final game here now, the primetime game on Saturday. Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling into the NFC East, winning Washington football team. This game will be taking place, obviously, in Washington. Washington comes into this one at +8.5 with the total set at 45. I'll go first here. I'm not even picking a side because I think this one's going to be gross. I'm just taking under 45, and I feel pretty confident with that.
Yep, absolutely. The football team's offense. Alex Smith. I got all the respect for him. Comeback player of the year, hands down. but he's too much of a game manager. He's not going to stretch the ball down the field. He's just going to dink and dunk down the field. And I think with the Bucks linebackers, Levante David and Devin White, too much speed. They're going to just lock down anybody underneath. But I mean, there's nothing else to say. It's Tom Brady. I mean,
That too. And you got to give your credit to the Buccaneers defense as well. Let's read some stats here. Buccaneers defense, 8th in points and allowed, 1st against the rush, 4th in sacks per game. And then you hit the nail on the head there with the football team and how strong their defense has been. 4th in points allowed, 2nd against the pass, and 6th in sacks per game. So these defenses are 2 top 10, borderline top 5 defenses, both ranked top 10 in opponents, punts per play as well. Washington offense too. You talked about Alex Smith struggling. They only average 18.8 points per game in their last 5. I mean, they only put up 20 against the depleted Eagles secondary last week. So they have no emphasis on, trying to score. And if the Buccaneers get up big early, it could get ugly in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was checking the injury report. Alex Smith, I saw that Ron Rivera was talking about they might have rotating quarterbacks, Taylor Heineke and Alex Smith. I mean, do you have 2 quarterbacks or you have no quarterbacks? And Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, they were also on the injury report. They didn't practice today. McLaurin is their best offensive player. Gibson, he gives them able to allow them to run the ball, but this is going to be, I think this is just going to be a blowout. It's not going to be competition. Mike Evans might come back. He's dealing with that knee injury, but even without him, they got Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, the Gronk, Ronald Jones. I mean, I think it's going to be ugly.
It's also important to note that when we look at the under here, the Buccaneers offense does tend to start slow at times too. A couple of weeks ago, they played in Atlanta, and I believe they were down 17-0 at half. It might have been 20-0 at half, but they got the slow starts here, which is also good for the under. Chase Young's going to come out and try to feast on Brady. He's excited to play in his first playoff game as the rookie. The under's 5-2 in the last 7 times these two teams have met, and the under's also 4-1 in the last 5 times that these two teams have played at Washington. So I think we're both on the same thing here. We're both on the under. We're both kind of lean towards the Bucks, but I think the under's a safer play. I'll go final score prediction 27-16 Bucks.
I'm going to go even worse than that. I'm going to go 31-10.
31-10. You think it's a complete beatdown for the Buccaneers? Yep. That's what Tom Brady needs, especially if they want to move on to the second round and keep confidence going with the Buccaneers, because he's looked like the best quarterback the past month in the NFL too.
And he wants to prove it's not Belichick. It's been me the entire time.
Of course there. So that wraps up our 3 games here for the Saturday slate. Let's just run through our picks real quick. I'm taking Bills -6.5, Rams +3.5, and then taking under 45 in the Washington Tampa Bay game.
I'm taking Colts 6.5, Seahawks 3.5, and under as well.
So that's our picks there for Saturday games. Be sure to stick around. We're going to come back with our picks for the Sunday games coming back at you guys. Appreciate you guys for hanging with us. If you like the content, make sure to comment, like, subscribe. Good luck with these picks. And as always, remember to gamble responsibly.
Good luck, everybody.